I'm about to tell you a story that changed my entire life, and when you hear it, you'll understand why I'm still afraid to tell people about it. I'm going to promise you something right now. This is real. Every word of it. And by the time I'm done, you won't feel safe in your own home. My name is Rahim, and this story happened about 5 years ago when I moved into a new apartment in Dhaka. I was only 23 years old. My first place of my own. I was thrilled, but at the same time, I was nervous. Living alone in the city, it is a different kind of feeling. The apartment was on the 7th floor of a 10-story building. I had set up a coat rack, a small kitchen, 1 bedroom, and a bathroom. The rent was pretty affordable and fit within my budget. The landlord was an elderly woman who didn't live nearby. She just told me to be responsible and pay the rent on time. The first 2 weeks were amazing. I was learning at work, exploring the city, making new friends. Everything felt normal. Everything felt good. But then, something started happening that would turn. It started with something simple. I would go to sleep around 9 o'clock at night, and every single night I would hear footsteps outside my door. Slow, rhythmic, deliberate. Someone walking in the hallway at a time when nobody should be walking around. At first, I thought it was just a neighbor, someone who lived in the building, but the pattern was strange. The same time every night, the same pace, the same deliberate rhythm. It was like someone was measuring something, measuring the hallway. I tried knocking on my door once to see if they would respond. Silence. The footsteps stopped immediately, but I knew someone was still out there. I could feel it, that prickling sensation on the back of your neck, that feeling when you know you are being watched. 2 weeks passed, and then my bedroom curtains began closing on their own. Now, I know that sounds impossible. I know it sounds like I was losing my mind, but I wasn't. I know because the first time it happened, I was completely awake. I was lying in bed looking at my phone, and in my peripheral vision, I watched my curtains slowly closing. There was no breeze. The window was shut. The air conditioning was off. Just my curtains, moving, closing. I immediately jumped out of bed and checked everything. The window wasn't open. The curtain rod was secure. Everything was normal. But my heart rate was 120 beats per minute. That night, for the next several nights, the same thing happened. Every single time with the same result. Curtains closed. I wake up, everything appears normal. I tried taping my window shut. The tape came off in the morning. I tried again. It came off again. I tried 3 more times. Same result. I didn't want to tell anyone about this. I knew what they would think. My mother would think I was losing my mind. My friends would laugh at me. But I knew something was happening in my apartment. I knew it. By the 3rd week, things got worse. I discovered that my apartment door had been unlocked. This should have been impossible because I always check it twice. Sometimes 3 times. It is an obsessive habit of mine. I have to check. But one particular night, I forgot. Or maybe I thought I checked it. I thought I did. 2 inches open. I am certain about that. It was pitch black outside. Deep, perfect darkness. The hallway of my building should never be that dark. Usually there are lights on. But not that night. I quickly shut the door and locked it. And then I walked into my kitchen. And I saw something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. The valve on my gas stove was open. This isn't an automatic safety feature. This is a manual knob, and it was open. My kitchen was filling with gas. I could smell it. That distinct, pungent smell that makes you immediately understand what is happening. In that moment, everything became clear to me. This wasn't some coincidental oddity anymore. This wasn't my own paranoid mind playing tricks on me. Someone had been inside my apartment. Someone had unlocked my door. Someone had deliberately turned on my gas. Someone was trying to kill me. I discovered I had lived that night. I don't usually go to the kitchen at night. I eat a light dinner and go back to my bedroom to sleep. But that particular night, I was thirsty. I was parched. I needed water, so I walked to the kitchen. And that is when I smelled the gas. 1 minute later than that moment, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. I would have been sleeping in my bed. The gas would have accumulated. A spark from my bedside lamp, the heating system, anything, and my apartment would have exploded with me inside it. I immediately called my mother. I called her at 3 in the morning. I lost control. I broke down. I was screaming and crying. I couldn't breathe. My mother told me to contact the security desk at my university, the people who worked in my building. By morning, they checked my apartment. They checked my door locks. They checked my windows. They found no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no damaged frames. Everything was intact. They suggested that maybe it was an accident. Maybe I had unlocked the door and forgotten. Maybe I had turned on the gas myself and forgotten about it. But I knew I didn't. I knew someone else had. 2 weeks after the gas incident, something happened that changed everything. I bought a small hidden camera. It was affordable and small enough to hide. I placed it in front of my bedroom door, pointing directly at my entrance. If someone came in, I would know. If this person came back, I would have proof. That first night, nothing happened. The second night, nothing. But on the third night, I watched the footage, and there was a silhouette. A person in complete darkness, but the camera had night vision. I could see a male figure, tall, broad-shouldered, standing directly in front of my door. And then, he did something that made my blood freeze. He worked on my lock. He spent at least 5 minutes on my lock, and then it opened. My door opened. I was paralyzed. I had to turn off the sound because my heart was beating so loud that I couldn't hear anything else. The footage shows him walking through my apartment, into my hallway, into my bedroom. He stood beside my bed, right where I was sleeping, directly over me while I slept. I was completely vulnerable, completely defenseless. And then, something happened. Suddenly, his head turned. For no apparent reason, he stopped. He looked around, and then he turned and walked out of my bedroom. He left my apartment. Throughout the entire footage, my door was open. I took that. This time, they listened. This time, they acted. It was evidence. Someone was a burglar. Someone was an intruder. They spoke to the landlord. They spoke to other residents. They reviewed CCTV footage. They questioned my neighbors. Nobody had seen anything. Nobody knew anything. They never found him. But when I was speaking with the police officers, they said something that made my blood run cold. They said this was a pattern. The same building, the same floor, 2 other apartments, 2 other young women. Samoan had been entering their apartments. Someone had been touching their belongings. Someone had been standing over them while they slept. But he never did anything to them. He never hurt them. The most disturbing part of this entire story still keeps me awake at night. The police investigation yielded almost nothing. They reviewed the CCTV footage, and the intruder was the most ordinary-looking person I have ever seen. No distinct features, no tattoos, no unique scars. Just a man. Any man. Someone you could pass. But their theory was what truly terrified me. They suspected he might be a resident. Someone who lives in the building. Someone who knows the security codes. Someone who knows how the locks work. Someone who knows which apartments are empty. Someone who knows his neighbor's schedules. It could be anyone. Your neighbor. The man who lives upstairs. The person you pass in the hallway every morning. To this day, 5 years later, I no longer live in that apartment. I moved to a different city. I check my door 3 times before bed. I check my windows. I put a chair against my door so nobody can open it. And I still wake up in the middle of the night. I often wonder, where is this man now? Is he still in that building? Did he move to a different place? Did he find a new building? A new victim? And most importantly, is he still doing this? Nobody knows. And perhaps this is my story. I know it was difficult to listen to. It was difficult for me to tell. But I decided to share it because I believe people need to understand that these things aren't just movie plots or fictional tales. They happen. They happen to real people. And they can happen anywhere. If you live alone in an apartment or a house, check your doors, check your doors, check your windows, check your windows, check them 3 times. And if something feels wrong, if something feels off, trust that instinct. Trust your gut. Because sometimes our instincts are the only thing standing between us and danger. The thing that saved my life that night was thirst. A simple need for water. 1 minute. That is all it took. If I had ignored that need, if I had simply gone to sleep, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. My parents would be planning my funeral. So here is what I want you to take from this tomorrow. When you wake up, appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Because life is fragile. Safety is an illusion. And home isn't always the sanctuary we think it is. Be aware. Be vigilant. Check your locks. Trust your instincts. And for the love of God, if something feels wrong in your own home, don't dismiss it. Don't rationalize it away. Trust yourself. Because somewhere out there are people like the man in my story. People who watch. People who wait. People who hunt. And they could be closer than you think. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next week with another story. But until then, sleep well and keep your doors locked.